Lucy.
Lucy. Hello.
Hey, all, welcome to the Flash Quotes Podcast, the best podcast for mobile event businesses and business owners of any shape and size. I'm joined here today by Zachary and Justin, and we're hanging out for a little bit of a roundtable episode. I'm going to spend some time together just talking about things that are on our minds, what we've been chewing on, problems we've been thinking about solving, pontification of all different flavors. With that, Justin, I've always wondered why your social media presence for Good Heart Coffee was so terrible, and you still succeeded, and you continue to succeed.
Strategically terrible.
Strategically terrible, but now I see you might start paying attention to social media. First, just read this line because it sounds so good, and then explain.
Why Goodheart is, in parentheses, finally paying attention to social media. And it is strategic, I'm on record saying like social media is for vanity, but Google is for sanity. And I still think Google is a massive driver, but I was checking on my Google search results the other day. And on the first page, lo and behold, there is 3 Instagram videos on the first page of pulled directly, from Instagram, and the people who were showing were using, we're talking about coffee catering, which is what I was searching for. So that was that was crazy. I've never seen like social media results displayed directly in line on Google before. And I think in the era of AI, where everyone can just spin up AI slop and write blog posts, and it's really easy for people to optimize their website, now I think Google is starting to look at some of these other signals. And so for that reason, like if social media posts are showing up directly on Google, now it's time for me. And in my opinion, it's now time for me to start taking it more seriously. I also now have someone who will be taking over the posting, and I've kind of built out a team of baristas who will be getting content, because I really don't like or care about that stuff, and I'm really not good at it. It's not one of my strengths, but I feel like I have the team in place to have a strong presence. And now it's kind of that tipping point where Google's showing those results, and it's even more on mobile. So if you're searching on mobile on Google, the search results are crazy and even more filled with like YouTube videos, TikTok, Instagram. And so that's the reason we're starting to take it a little more seriously.
Yeah. Have you guys seen like the Google AI UI interface that you can test, like demo on web?
Have seen it. I have not used it yet. I'm still in the habit of just going out to an actual AI tool like Claude or Perplexity.
Yeah, I am too. And I don't even know if my habits will shift or not. Like if I'm going to Google, I kind of want the old experience in a way. Um, but it definitely jumped out. It's like you could try like Google AI now was available to me. And it was just basically this blank screen, kind of a chat interface essentially for search, right? That we're familiar with Perplexity and chat connected to the web. We've talked a little bit about that change in SEO and discoverability in the world of AI. It's crazy. I mean, you just search in Google like all the time just to see what's changing like every day. You just have a little reminder that says search myself online.
No, I mean, I live or die by my search results. And so it's something that's always on my mind. I mean, I do have, I'm grateful now I have like a dedicated in-house SEO person who's just, building out location pages, optimizing everything, and keeping an eye on those results. So I get like pretty frequent reports on, where our rankings are at and how things are looking. But I'm also just doing it the old school way, manually searching for whatever coffee catering, San Francisco, coffee catering, LA, and just seeing what those individual results are showing me. So that's how I kind of noticed this, and that's what made me want to decide.
So your thinking is that because Google's first big breakthrough in like the mid 2000s, right? 03, 04, I think, was backlinks, right? Like leveraging, okay, if somebody links to you, then that's a high degree of social proof of the quality of your content and your authority on whatever you're talking about. And that's, I'm assuming it's been a pretty big weight for quite a while, along with a whole bunch of different hacks. But that backlinking was really powerful. Now you're saying AI slop. You mean people can just spin up a ton of websites and maybe there's low domain authority, but there's just a huge, the volume is so insane that for Google to try and piece through all these backlinks maybe is not proving as effective, and they might be using Instagram or other mechanisms to basically say like this is an authoritative post or source of information for coffee catering, for example.
Yeah, I think that's the direction things are moving, is they're looking at that Google will be kind of looking at your entire online footprint of YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest. Like it does seem like people who have have a presence on multiple platforms do seem to gain some favor. And not to mention you're getting backlinks from those sites. If you have a Pinterest, probably linking back to your website. If you have a YouTube, it's probably linking back. But just generally speaking, there's, I guess, the Instagram and social media results in Google, I think, is a subset of a larger trend, which is just generally showing more video in the results. Google has a preference to show YouTube videos and YouTube Shorts, but maybe until they feel like they have enough content from YouTube, they seem to be also pulling from Instagram. I don't know if I guess I've maybe seen some TikTok, but definitely more Instagram. And so those video results broadly, and then the social media video results that are now showing in Google, I think are pretty powerful opportunity. And I plan to try to stay on the cutting edge of that.
One other interesting thing I had noticed recently in our Ahrefs dashboard, I don't know if you've seen this yet, Justin, but Ahrefs
audience, what is Ahrefs?
Yeah, so this is a popular tool for managing for SEO optimization. Basically, it tracks your backlinks and your keywords, what you're ranking for, how strong your backlink profile is, how strong your domain authority is, and it's been a tool in the SEO world for a long time. It's kind of the leader in that space, but they've recently added this functionality where your website now tracks your AI citations as well. So you can see you can see in here if your website is referenced in responses from ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, and Google AIO. I guess that's what you were looking at, Daniel. I'm not entirely sure what the methodology is here. Like, do they just run the same queries through those engines and see what comes back? But kind of interesting. Like they're clearly seeing the writing on the wall that AI chatbot SEO is going to become an increasingly important part of your SEO strategy for ranking for your local business.
And that is true, but AI has the same problem that Google had back in the day. It's how do we present credible, trustworthy results? And to do that, they're often just leveraging the trust of other platforms like Yelp, like Facebook, like Google Business, any other third-party platform that already has reviews and already has trust signals. AI is kind of just scraping those. So what we've found is that if you have good trust and good authority on Google, likely AI is going to be pulling that and scraping that and using that. So it's not as if it's a completely new strategy. You're kind of just still generating reviews on platforms, even if it's beyond Google Business Profile. It seems like AI is leveraging the trust of other platforms to present trustworthy results.
I think there's this heuristic that the top 3 results get like 50%, and maybe it's double or something, like 10%, 20, or
it's crazy.
7, 15, 30 or something like that. I wonder, it feels like the winner take all dynamics might even be accentuated in a chat-based result, right? Like, if I'm chat, I'm showing like 1, 2, 3, like 3, and that's it, right? It's going to be a follow-up, like what else is there, or something deeper to, like, even if you're at the bottom of page 1 right now on Google results, like, is that going to show up in a chat interface for asking for something? Yeah. Probably not.
It's funny. I just had an experience with this. So I needed to install a fence at my new house. And instead of going to Google, I went to ChatGPT and said, hey, ChatGPT, like, I need to install a wood fence at my home. Here's the address. What's the best fence company in Arvada, Colorado? And it was very interesting. I mean, it basically, I think I did maybe like a deep research or like tried to get a more comprehensive result, but it basically made a table of like the top 5 in its view with their contact info. And then it gave like a little pros and cons based on synthesizing their reviews. So it would be like, this one is super highly rated, tons of reviews. Cons, people say that maybe they bid a little bit slightly higher than the other competitors. This one's smaller, local mom and pop shop, blah, blah, blah. If you want a more personal touch, that you might want to go with them. This one's a big national corporation, so they have better technology, better coding experience, but it's not that local business feel. And it kind of just gave me like a 2-sentence blurb like that about each one. And then I just picked which one I wanted and called them. Pretty amazing, right? And I could have, I'm sure, chatted with it and told it like, here are my dimensions. I really care about local business, or I really care about the best price. And I'm sure it would have made a recommendation. But yeah, I don't know where. I mean, I assume, like you said, Justin, it's getting that from the first page of Google results and probably scanning, the sentiment analysis of some of their Google reviews or other reviews online. But pretty wild. I didn't have to go to Google at all to find what I felt like was a good choice, and ended up being happy with the one that I picked.
Yeah, I've seen that fence. That's a nice fence.
It's a nice fence. Yeah, it came out great.
Well, staying on the topic of AI, I know we have a couple other topics on that. One that you were mentioning here, Zach, is what's the use case for email? It seems obvious that it would be immensely beneficial there. Curious if people are nailing it yet, or if it's still kind of nascent and people are trying to figure it out. What have you discovered as you're exploring that?
Yeah. So I'm kind of a inbox zero productivity nerd in some ways. I really want to have like an optimal email experience where I kind of batch my email processing, and I ideally only see things that are important and respond to them immediately, and don't get bogged down with like tons of unread email and things like that. And it's felt to me like a while that AI is perfectly suited to solving all the pain points that people have with email, like not losing the signal for the noise, getting overwhelmed with too much stuff, not being too lazy to go click unsubscribe on all the newsletters and emails that you signed up for that you just don't want to see anymore, and quickly responding with like good draft messages in your voice that have context about you. So a lot of email tools are kind of leaning into the AI thing right now. Gmail, as everyone's probably seen, probably the most popular email client, is starting to do kind of smart autocomplete as you type, and doing their Gemini AI, trying to draft messages for you. But what I found myself wanting to do in some cases is be able to like chat with an AI about formulating my response before I write the response, if that makes sense. Like, I don't just want to have AI write it, and I don't just want to write it myself and then have AI edit it. I want to interact with AI and say, like, how should I respond to this? Like, especially if it's a challenging email, like an angry client, or someone's upset about something, or I'm trying to negotiate something or be persuasive about something. There's situations where it'd be helpful to have. I found myself thinking like, it'd be great to have, chat, some kind of AI chat embedded in this conversation, so I could like, come up with some ideas and brainstorm, like, is this too mean of a reply, or how should I handle this situation, and then have it kind of use that plus its knowledge of my voice and writing style and my personality to kind of come up with a response. So I tried last week like probably 10 different email clients, and they all have different pros and cons. Superhuman's a really popular one for kind of tech enthusiasts. It's kind of expensive. There's Spark, there's Canary Mail. I can't even remember them all. I probably tried like 8 or 10, but there's one that I came across that I really liked and I've been playing with, called Shortwave. And Shortwave is exactly what I just described. It's just a nice email client that has embedded chat right on the side panel of your emails, and you can do lots of interesting things with having a chat in your inbox, right? You can say, how should I respond to this? Or can you find the other thread where we talked about this previously and find what I said about that? Or can you look at my calendar and figure out what times I'm available and then respond with that? Or can you, I can't find this email. I know that I got an email from Xfinity telling me they're going to come install the thing, but I can't find it. Like, just can you find it and tell me and put it on my calendar? And it can do all of that, like, surprisingly well. And it also does a really good job of just ingesting all of your old emails as training data and kind of summarizing your voice and your writing style and mimicking it really nicely. So I've really enjoyed that for Compose lately as a way to kind of, and the other thing it does really nicely is it has MCP integrations. So that just means you can give it access to your other tools. It can talk to It can feel like I use Todoist, we use Linear for our project management. Like any tool that has an API, you could actually connect it to your inbox and say, hey, make a quick to-do for me to go solve this problem, or create a ticket in Linear to solve this bug that came in through this email. And it can route all of that information directly to your other tools in your stack without ever leaving your inbox. So that's been a pretty fun new toy to play with.
Nice. I'm gonna have to check that out. That's cool, man. It makes me think of this idea in the book Algorithms to Live By, which I love that book, about sorting versus searching, which is more acute than ever in the world of AI. I used to be one of those people, like, I don't really have a messy desk. I'm pretty OCD organized. And so I would apply that to my email. And for some reason, I thought it was a great idea to have this cacophony of folders, like all organized with perfect structure and multi-layers. And like, man, if I go back and need this stuff, I'm going to find it so fast. This is going to be incredible. And I spent so much time just sorting emails into folders to find them in the future.
Yeah.
And more often than not, I never went back and needed them.
Mm-hmm.
And the real insight that book elucidated for me was, if search is good enough, sorting is stupid. Stop, I'm wasting so much time sorting things that I can search for. Even then, pre-AI, I could search with the subject line. I can search based on the context of the email. Like, this is email. This is digital text. It's very, very searchable. I can search for timelines, when it happened, when it was sent, when it was received. And that to me was like, it seems so simple, but it was a really good insight and saved me a lot of time. And I think in this world now, where you can do that to like 10x what you could before, maybe 100x with AI tools, like, you should not be sorting anything really. Like, you should be sort of thinking about computation and the information that you generate as more of, I need to focus more on making sure that data is accessible to good AI tools versus I need to sort it so that I can manually look for it in the future. And I think for email, like, that is so clutch. And a lot of the new email clients really lean into this, right? There's not a lot of folder UI. You kind of press a button like E or something to say this is done, and it just goes to an archive. But just like put it all in a big pool of information and then use AI to train on it or bring it up later. I love that.
On that topic too, there's another tool I found in my quest that I'm playing around with that people may find this even more interesting if you're struggling with just being overwhelmed by your inbox. It's called Kora. The website is Kora.computer, Cora. What they're trying to do is basically build like an AI executive assistant for your inbox that summarizes and like sorts your emails for you. And so what it basically does is every time an email hits your inbox, the Kora AI says, does this seem important? Like, do they need to reply to it? Or is it more like informational, things that are not important? And so important emails go straight to your inbox, but non-important emails, it just aggregates them into like a daily digest. And so it basically auto archives them and then just adds a note. And then twice a day, like every morning and every evening, it just sends you an email saying, here's all the other stuff that came in like a bulleted list. And it just says like, here, you got 10 newsletters, you got 5 like Amazon shipping updates, you got, 2 people accepted a calendar invite, and you got 3 other things from your bank. And here's the links to them if you want to read them or do anything with them. But Kora assumes that you don't really care about that, or you just need to see it in like a summary format. You don't need to look at the email. So we auto archived all of those and just got them out of your inbox. It's actually really nice because when you turn it on, like your inbox all of a sudden becomes very quiet and it becomes only like real people talking to you. And then everything else is just kind of bundled into a twice a day update.
That's sick. So you use that with Shortwave, like it's a layer on top of it, or you?
I've been playing with them in conjunction. I don't know. I think you could probably. So Shortwave also has AI filtering that I think you could probably construct something similar with a little bit of work, but Kora just kind of does it out of the box, or you turn it onto your inbox, and it sends you it basically all it's doing is auto archiving everything that doesn't look important and then summarizing everything else in a daily digest email that comes to your inbox. So it's not a interface as much as just like a piece of your email pipeline.
Well, on the theme of AI, kind of wrapping the AI focused stuff up, I've been playing recently with just using ChatGPT for reading and books and book note taking. It is crazy cool. It's not any specific app or tool that's explicit for that. It's just leveraging ChatGPT, the paid version where you can have projects, and I just have a book note project. And we know AI is awesome for synthesis. It's also super cool at taking like nascent threads and ideas and different notes and weaving them together and like finding thematic similarities to give you insights. Like one of my biggest things that I struggle with, I'm a big nonfiction, I like fiction and nonfiction, but in the case of nonfiction, like I want to pull insights out of it. And then I want to have those at my fingertips, like when I need it. And usually like I'm consuming a book and the book has insights on a whole bunch of different things: how to build a good culture, how to hire people, the challenges of business building, how to sell. And so it's not just one specific thing. Usually it's 5 different things, different topics. And I want to be able to pull a specific topic at a specific point in time that's relevant. And I want to get it from not just one book. I want to get it from 10 books or 20 books, regardless of when I read it. And so I just had this idea, like, man, instead of taking notes just physically in the books, or, that my wife will freak out at me writing in books, but I do that, or taking them on, Apple Notes and then having no way to pull them together. What if I take a different approach? And so what I've been doing is I'll write the notes in my book. Usually I find like a blank page, and usually nonfiction books, they're nice enough to give you like a nice blank page in the front or back. I'll note the page number where I, highlighted a note and put brackets around that on the actual page itself. And then I'll probably write my little note or my thought that made it stick out to me. And at the end of the book reading, I've snapped a photo, so I'll start a specific chat in my book's project for whatever it was. I just finished Competing Against Luck, for example, by Clayton Christensen and others. And I will take a picture of that synthesis with all the notes that I took on each page. I'll say, hey, here's all my notes. And then I'll tell chat, hey, I'm going to take pictures of each page where I have the quote. And I want you to kind of conceptually just link them together and keep those interconnected. And so what I end up with is a whole bunch of quotes. Usually it's like 15 to 20 that really stood out for me in a book. What really stuck out for me thematically, and then the actual quote and page reference itself. I've just started. I need to basically go through. I need to hire Justin to come take pictures of all my other books so I can have the reference. Or maybe my 7-year-old son will do it for in exchange for a video game. But you can do some pretty cool stuff. Like just before the chat here, I sent some questions like, what are some takeaways from recent books that apply to business? What are some key themes that arise in books that I've read recently? Or give me insights on a specific topic. Like I'm trying to hire somebody, like hire a customer success manager. Give me some tips on what to do there. And the feedback is super, super cool. Like for general things that have come up lately, there's, communication and trust. There's a quote from Ben Horowitz on Hard Things. In any human interaction, the required amount of communication is inversely proportional to the level of trust. So that's about like building teams and having high trust and not needing communication, culture, how to keep teams small, just some really sweet stuff. So anyways, it's been a lot of fun. I don't know. I'm sure it'll evolve over time, but if you're a big book reader and want to kind of synthesize that and have it for reference, it's going really well so far.
That's awesome. So how are you, maybe I missed it, how are you like keeping all of the book notes in the context so that like a fresh chat knows what books you read and what you took out of them?
Because I'm doing it all within a project. So within ChatGPT, as you know, and you got to pay the $20 a month. I think it's well worth it for all the benefits you get. But I have a book notes project so that, because within the project, it can contextually reference the other chats that you've had. And so I'm starting a new chat for every book because the chats are memorialized too. So I basically have a chat specifically to, Hard Things or, some of the books I've recently read. And that's where I need to add more chats so that I can, take those notes and have them for reference. But then basically you can have a subsequent chat that's using all that for context to synthesize, which is pretty cool.
That's really cool. Well, speaking of books, maybe we talk about Never Enough. I'm very curious to pick Justin's brain on this one or just hear his reactions. So for context, I think all three of us really enjoy business biographies. We enjoy business in general, and business books are great. But sometimes business books are a little bit, or if you've read one, it feels like you've read them all to some extent. They kind of get a little bit formulaic. But business biographies are interesting because it's someone's real story. There's kind of narrative lessons in there to help underscore what they experienced and what they learned, and they feel a little bit more memorable to me sometimes than just kind of academic business books. We love those types of books. Shoe Dog is one of my all-time favorites by Phil Knight. I think both these guys love that one too. But I came across one not too long ago. I think it came out this year or maybe late last year, called Never Enough by Andrew Wilkinson. So Andrew Wilkinson is a Canadian, I don't know what you'd call him, like not a venture capitalist, like a private investor, like an owner of many businesses, owner of a business portfolio. He started out as a graphic designer, then built like one of the biggest software development design agencies in the world, I guess, or most well known in MetaLab. They helped design Slack and Uber and a bunch of like very famous Silicon Valley tech startup apps from the beginning. And then he kind of grew into acquiring a portfolio of businesses and building his company Tiny, which is a holding company that owns a bunch of different like software businesses. It owns some coffee businesses. I think they own AeroPress, yeah. But he's just an interesting character. He talks a lot on podcasts and shares his thoughts online, and I've enjoyed a lot of it. So he wrote an autobiography called Never Enough. I read it recently and recommended it to these guys. So I'm curious. I know, Justin, you just finished it. If you have any thoughts or what stood out to you so far? You said you ripped through it in one day, so something must have hit home.
Yeah. I mean, it was very well written. I think back in his early days, he wanted to be a journalist, I think. And so, yeah, he had done a lot of writing. He's a very good writer, very entertaining and a great storyteller. I think obviously his journey takes place on a different level, but it's kind of this story of his just insatiable hunger. His family grew up poor, and it was just always money was an issue and at the forefront of their mind. And it's kind of his journey, just like this insatiable hunger to feel like he had enough. And so as he's kind of progressing through his career, he's just getting to meet with all these different types of people, multimillionaires, decamillionaires, billionaires. He had an opportunity to meet like Charlie Munger, and actually Charlie Munger, the famous partner to Warren Buffett, who's now passed, like wanted to go into business with him, which he eventually declined just because of the workload. But I think what was interesting about it to me is just that his like psychological journey to like feel satisfied with his level of success and wealth, to feel like, okay, I do have enough. And I think throughout his journey, he definitely met a lot of these extremely wealthy people who had more than most people would ever see in many lifetimes. And all they could talk about was how their neighbor had a house that was nicer or like a better car or whatever. And I for sure am not like, I think part of my motivation to grow Goodheart to what it is largely came out of like, I want to see what I can accomplish. Like I want to feel more financially stable. I want to see what I can accomplish. And I'm not going to stop until there's some internal feeling of like this, okay, I am like content with what I've accomplished here. So there was obviously he's doing it at a crazy level, right? He went public with his company, he became a billionaire, if on paper, and if only for a little while before maybe the shares went down. But it's just a really, really entertaining, fascinating kind of like biography that explores the psychology of success and contentment, and through the lens of a really interesting human. And so I think I just related to it and enjoyed it on that level, because I am feeling that a little bit of like, okay, like I've done cool stuff. Maybe I don't need to continue just growing relentlessly. Don't get me wrong, I'm about to open up another city, but like it doesn't have the thrill or excitement, and like and I definitely am feeling like a greater sense of just contentment. Of course, I'm a new father as well as of like 3 weeks ago, roughly. And so definitely like examining a lot of my motivations in business and in life. And, I had a business mentor who I've mentioned maybe on other podcasts, Paul. He's really one of the reasons why Goodheart, he kind of believed me back in I think 2021 is when I met him, or 2020. Like, he really believed in me, and that eventually kind of gave me my self-belief that I could grow this. But he's a really interesting example of someone who could actually exit the game, right? And that's a theme in this book as well, Never Enough by Andrew Wilkinson, is meeting all these people who could never ever get out of the game. Like, what got them there is the same compulsion that kept them in the game always. Like, they could never escape. They've reached the pinnacle, but they just could never say, you know what, I feel great. I played a great game, and now I'm going to get out of the game. I think one really interesting example of this, Zach, who is the guy in that book who retired and moved to New Zealand? What's his name? I think you've emailed back and forth with him. He's got a couple books.
Derek Sivers. Yeah.
Yeah, Derek Sivers.
Yeah.
Derek Sivers was like a, software. He owned CD Baby, sold it, in the early to mid 2000s, maybe 2007 for, 10, 15 million. And he's an example of someone who exited the game. I think he donated most of his money, put it in a trust, and moved to New Zealand and just never started another company, and never just lives a modest life and raises his kid and writes a lot, kind of thinks a lot, and spends a lot of time in nature. So this idea of what is enough? What are we doing this all for? Can you reach your goals? And then once you've reached them, can you get out of the game? And I think that's a question that I don't have an answer to for myself right now, but it does, the wheels are definitely turning. And back to my mentor, Paul, he did that. He owned and grew and sold many businesses over his career. Now he's retired and he spends 6 months a year in Italy and just trekking the Dolomites and all these really cool passes. And he skis, and he's a ski instructor, and mountain bikes. And it's man, he did it. He found contentment. He found the level of financial, professional and financial success that he aimed for, and then he could actually step away instead of having this compulsion to just never stop, which is the case with so many really successful people. So yeah, interesting book, really got the wheels turning, makes me kind of reflect a little bit. I don't know what it means. I don't know where I'm going to go with any of this info and these thoughts, but the wheels are turning.
That's awesome, man.
Chicago is coming early August 2025 as well. But the wheels are turning on that stuff for sure, of just contentment, as my son grows, I want to be out there taking him out in nature, adventuring with him, mountain biking with him, swimming, and just getting out and giving him a great childhood. And that might mean a good number of weekdays just out and about. We'll see.
Yeah. That's so I think one of the reasons Andrew's story resonated with me, and one of the things I took away from it, is he seems to have found a formula that allows him to continue to scratch his entrepreneurial itch and build businesses and grow businesses and play that game while still having a very, what seems, at least from the way he describes it, a pretty even work-life balance, right? He doesn't seem to buy into at least by the end, or where he kind of resolves to by the end, because it's a journey, right? That's part of his learning through that story. But it seems by the end, he seems to value those things a lot and be able to ruthlessly delegate so much of the work to his team, and kind of really just hone in on what do I want to be doing every day? How many hours do I want to be working every day? And kind of keep that in check. So his strategy, it seems is, accumulate cash flowing businesses, focus on cash flow and profitability from day one, try to avoid raising a bunch of capital or debt, and then just basically automate and delegate as much as possible on the running of those businesses. So he talks about his journey from learning how to delegate the down to the earth, the designing itself, or the hands-on work that happens in his businesses, to gradually delegating the management layer, and then eventually delegating the CEO role, and totally stepping away from the business so that he can acquire another business and do the same thing, and kind of build up a team and hire an amazing CEO and give them a ton of autonomy and clear goals and incentives, and then just kind of get it off his mind and move on to the next one, and just accumulate these businesses, buy and hold them forever with no plan to sell them or flip them or anything, and just build this portfolio of assets, but figure out what he's good at, what he likes at, and delegate everything else, which requires a lot of trust and accountability and the ability to hire great teams and to find great executives and great managers and people to run your companies that you can hand the keys over to them. I think that's the hard part for any business owner as they grow and they build this thing that's becoming successful. They don't trust anyone else with their baby. But, figuring out how to do that and how to hire great leaders and attract them and retain them and keep them accountable and trust them has given him this seems like a pretty incredible kind of lifestyle and amount of peace where he can own all these businesses but not be totally consumed in the weeds of them. So I think that's an interesting kind of philosophy that's a little bit different than what you normally see of someone who's just relentlessly obsessed. All they think about is work. They're totally involved in every detail of their businesses. It's kind of a different, more Zen approach to it in some ways.
Yeah, for sure.
He has a quote in there that kind of goes with that idea that stuck out to me. It was my first underline and write of the book at I think around page 80 or so. But he says, anything you don't like doing is someone else's dream job. And it was in the context of the first time that he basically called up a random friend that he met in the first semester of college and really kicked it off with and said, hey, I'm kind of burnt out. There's all this executive running the business stuff that I just don't, I'm going to all these events, kissing babies, out there selling, and it's just draining me. And I really want to go on this Europe trip to kind of reset. And the only way I can do it is if somebody kind of babysits or watches the business in my absence. And through that process, things went incredibly well, better than he could have expected. And his friend grew the business, started doing sales, was going on these same trips that he loathed and loved them. They were energizing for this guy. So it was kind of this cool insight that made what you were just talking about, Zach, I think that much easier, like a mental shift. Like, hey, just because this used to maybe light me up, it's not anymore. There's a whole bunch of other people out there that could be exceptional that will also be lit up by it. The sheer fact that they're going to be energized by it is probably going to lead to better results than me, in this kind of half-interested manner dealing with it. So that jumped out, especially even as we think about, our business and as it grows and what are the things that we want to focus on versus, delegate and how we navigate all that. It's an interesting perspective.
100%.
Well, with that, let's wrap up this roundtable session. As always, let us know if you have any other questions or topics you want to chat about. Shoot us a note, comment on YouTube or elsewhere. If you like this format, let us know. If you don't, let us know, and we'll take the feedback and run with it. Until next time, stay flashy. No, don't cut that out.
Nope, that's it. Stay flashy.
See ya.
Ciao.